You are listening to a Pleasure podcast. For more from our Sex Podcast Collective, visit pleasurepodcasts.com.
Hello and welcome back to the Horny Housewife Podcast. I'm your host, Jordanne, or welcome. Today, I've got a guest. I haven't had guests in a while. I did, but not to pick favorites, but we talked baby-proofing your marriage, attachment styles, long-term bonds, things she sees with couples, because she's a therapist. She does individual and couples, and with the couple, sees one and one, boom, 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 then brings them together. Genius. And I picked your brain. It's a great interview, so stick around for that. I wanted to know, what do y'all think about all this AI stuff? Not all of the stuff, but as far as sex and relationships goes. The AI girlfriends, the AI relationships, I may or may not have had the opportunity to be sponsored by some company that does the AI girlfriend or AI boyfriend thing. And I was like, so sorry I think they just read the name of the podcast and everybody asks, find out if we're a match or not. Sure, probably are. But some, I'm like, no, I am not trying to aid in people getting divorced. I am trying to keep you from getting divorced. We're going to make your sex life hotter. And for some reason, I don't think a robot, a computer making you want to stroke your meat is going to do anything right. Isn't that strange? I mean, there are people in true AI psychosis because they think that their ChatGPT is their friend, their real ass friend. Shut up, chat is my friend. I was watching the Real Housewives of Miami reunion, and Lisa Hochstein, whatever, she was like, just ask Chat who Larsa is. And I'm sure because she's talked to Chat about her friendships clearly, which lots of people do, more than you would think. The guys listening to this are like, what the fuck? Me too. And I'm very girly in a million ways and do the girly things such a female. But that one, I don't, because I think it's dangerous. Journal like a normal girl, okay? You're keep up with the times, 2025, Chat GPT it out. And maybe if you're not insane, it's all gravy. But I think you could end up getting to a point where it could make you spiral. She obviously talked about her poor friendship with Larsa, so when she asked, what does the world think of, I don't know, it placates to your feelings. And then one of the other housewives read her ChatGPT response, which was more neutral and blanket grabbing from Google or wherever, that a public figure who's criticized for this and praised for this, just a real, my Google AI result. Trying to be unbiased and getting all different perspectives, the pros and cons. But if you are talking shit about your husband, your relationship, what you're struggling with, and then you tell it your feelings, it's going to validate your feelings. And I'm not saying it doesn't give great points or possible solutions. And even surprises me how it can really highlight where this root issue can stem from. There's a lot of great things, but to lean on it, to rely on it so heavily scares me for some reason. I think it definitely is taking the place of therapist for some people, which is really interesting because when we go do talk therapy, we know that that's a human being who's also having a human experience. Just like a lot of therapists or anyone, probably life coaches, probably podcast hosts, lots of people, anyone who's informing or inspiring or advising or whatever, struggles from imposter syndrome, because then we have our own real life experiences and go, how am I getting this feedback of how much I'm helping people, or I'm saying this, or I'm giving guidance, and then yet I'm struggling with an issue very similar in my own life, in my own relationships, in my own parenting, whatever. And so you feel like a fraud in a way. And I think just being transparent with the people you talk to about what you experience, and the fact of the matter is through experience and gaining knowledge and valuing personal growth, you can become a great advice giver. People go study psychology. They understand how the brain works. They're able to do the therapy, the doctor's appointment, the whatever, but it doesn't mean that they're an all-star at always applying the tools every single time we need to whip out that toolbox. Obviously, the more you practice, the better you'll get at it. But we're still flawed human beings, all of us, at the end of the day. So how did we get to like fucking an AI girl? And then there's beyond that. Think about the virtual reality, going back. The VR headsets, and sorry, wives, if your husband doesn't know about this, and you're like, why are you telling him this exists? Guys, don't do it. It's so icky. It's just like the OnlyFans girls. Like, stop the supply, okay? It's supply and demand. It's mind-blowing how much those girls make. Okay, we need a timeout on that. Timeout. Tens of millions of dollars a year. Insane how much money these girls make. Insane, a lot of them. Maybe not. Maybe some girls are only making $1 million. It's just so much money though. It's insane. And it's really sad to me actually. But another topic, stop it. Back to your AI girlfriend. Jethro, if you could cut this out right now and the little silence that I did before that, just to keep it flowing. Virtual reality and AI girlfriends. I don't like it. If you have a micro penis and you are single and it's just like you're never going to have a girlfriend, you're just not in the dating scene, like, okay, like, be a weirdo, okay? Well, like, none of my business. You're never going to get the girlfriend if you can't do it. But I don't know. I don't know. If I almost said if you're a paraplegic, like that was fucked up. If I'm going to keep it in. There's like 2% of the world that I'm not going to judge for their virtual reality girlfriend. Okay. If you're dying, if you can make a wish, you can have the virtual reality with the fleshlight. You can. No one else. None of these husbands that listen to my show that have a wife, please don't. Please don't do that. Okay? Because then I'm going to buy your wife a fucking VR headset for Christmas and get her all the boyfriends with her jackrabbit, and she's never going to talk to you again. Okay? And then y'all both will need to go to rehab. Your eyes are going to be like this, and you're going to have blue light poisoning, and your penis and clit won't work anymore because you fucked it up. Because the jackrabbit just did your nerves dirty. Ew. Imagine, I swear I saw a movie where two people were fucking with their VR headsets on. Now that that's like the one I'm gonna giggle at and snicker at. And as long as Todd isn't gonna go use it immediately again to fuck this pretend girl that looks so real, that's all. He can't touch her, but he can see her. And she's right here, her tits in my face. And you know the ones that are like real people? Like it's not just like the girlfriend, but it's someone who can like, you can really interact. I mean, you can interact with the fake ones as if it's a real person. But it's like not even a girl sometimes. Sometimes there's like someone has an avatar with these big titties, blah, blah, blah. And it's some weirdo, okay? Laughing at you and or getting off, whatever. This is getting weird. But I don't know because I've never done this. So I'm only telling you the things I've heard of. But I'm sure there's way more than I even know about. I don't know how it works. I've never experienced it, tried it, blah, 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 blah. These are just what I've heard. But couples will do this and then like imagine seeing a couple have sex with the, what is it called? We have one. Go grab the, I guess it's called the Meta Quest. That is never what I called it. It's going to drive me absolutely crazy. But you know what I'm talking about. There's a bunch of VR headsets. Imagine someone fucking doing that. Imagine walking in, wives, to your husband with the headset on his eyes and he's over there beating it. Imagine. That gives me the ick just envisioning it. You know what I would do? I'd come up and lap you. I would come over there, and I get some wives are like, no, I got on my knees. You're a better woman than me. I would have taken the headset and gone, you know how you can snap a bra? You can do that. I would take his headset and go and snap it on his face. And then all day when I looked at him, he would have that like indent around his face from it. And I'd be like, you're disgusting. Fucking weirdo. Can't get a real vagina, you big freakazoid. Okay, I'm so sorry. There's men listening that are like, I feel so judged. I thought you said not to shame people. Shaming you. Break that bad habit. Okay, it's a bad habit. I'm going to say doom scrolling is a bad habit. And I do it. Doesn't mean it's right. Okay? I'm supposed to be your sister, your best friend, not your therapist. So unprofessional. She doesn't have the credentials for that, she being me. Okay, let's get into today's episode. We got listener questions. I want to know. No, I don't, because I'm just going to do it. Love is Blind. If you don't know what that show is, they get in these pods. I'm sure you fucking know to live under a rock, but for some people, you're like, I don't know. They go into these pods and they can never see each other and they go like date, and then they end up connecting with someone, and the whole point is to go, of course they have to make it TV that they gotta like get engaged, and like then they have like a trial marriage, and then they decide if they're gonna walk down the aisle and say yes or no. Some people choose like not now, not yet, let's continue to date. It's not like some people are all in. I know this, like the chances, the statistics of this working out are very low, but we know in today's society, in today's world, you know, people are going on these shows because they know inevitably they will get a following, they will be able to become an influencer, if you will, become famous. So they go on, and I'm sure that there are people that go on going, yeah, if I fall in love, I would love to go on and be have the opportunity to meet someone and connect, but they know like that probably the chances of it not working out are greater than it working out, but I know how this goes for people that go on these shows, so I'm going to do it anyways. So you know that exists, and then the world picks it apart. Oh my God, Jeff had a girlfriend that he broke up with 4 weeks before he went on. It's like, so fucking what? Now, if they were like engaged, like that's different. But I was listening to The Toast, and I totally agree with Jackie when she was like, I hate these girls that are coming out of the woodworks. I used to date Joe from Love is Blind. Like, no one gives a fuck. You're grasping, okay? Anyways, I want to recap the couples, and I want to judge them. And one of them I think is down low. If you know, you know. And I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to talk shit about them because they signed up to be on a TV show. So you're allowed to talk shit about me. I have some 1-star reviews. You've done it. Speaking of that, please leave me 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. That would help so much. And Spotify, you can leave a rating. Can't write a comment, but you can write a review, not comment, on Apple Podcasts. So do it. If you want to watch, you can watch on Spotify or you can watch on YouTube. Even if you're not going to watch on YouTube, do me a solid. My ride or dies, my OGs, my new people that love the show, do me a favor, because this is free content that I give you every single week. And I have for the last, 5 years. Wow. Love you. This is my dream job. Like, I'm honored. I'm grateful. I'm feel so lucky. Love you. Blessed. All of it. follow the show. Some of you are listening and you search the show and you listen, or it pops up because it's on your algae now. Make sure you click the check mark, follow, subscribe. Those buttons matter. It really, really helps me and my show. So if you can make sure you're following or subscribed. And if you watch on YouTube or you don't, subscribe and click the little notification bell. That would mean so much to me. So yeah, hopefully you like Love is Blind. Maybe you want to watch it as a couple. It's kind of fun. The guys, they think they're not into these shows. They think they don't want to watch it. But then you start watching it, and by the third one, you're going to be like, put it on, press play. Let me see Nick. I know that his mom was right. So that was mean. Okay, let's get into the show. Time for listener questions. Any friend, person I've told Via about, they're like, wait, that's legal? Yes, THC delivered discreetly to your door across the United States. ViaHemp.com. Check it out. There's a gummy for every mood: socializing, sleeping, sex, zen, focus. If you like THC, great. This is going to be your jam. If you don't, they have fabulous THC-free products. The benefits of CBG, CBN. They have a wonderful sleep gummy that has no THC in it. They have a sleep gummy with THC in it. So something for everybody. Via has over 500,000 happy customers who have trusted Via to elevate their daily routines. Via has partnered with some of the biggest names in sports, comedy, entertainment, and are making it their mission to show the world that the stigma around cannabis is changing. Love that. So if you're 21 and up, treat yourself to 15% off and get a free gift with purchase if you are a first-time order by using my exclusive code HOUSEWIFE at ViaHemp.com. Plus, enjoy free shipping on orders over $100. That's ViaHemp.com, code HOUSEWIFE, or just click the link in the episode notes below. Guys, I know you want to be a rock star in the bedroom. I know you want to make her happy. That'll make you more confident and a better lover, right? Blue Chew, that's where Blue Chew comes in. Blue Chew is the OG company offering chewable tablets for better sex. And it's all done online, which makes it really, really easy and convenient, which we love, and affordable. Go to BlueChew.com and use code HOUSEWIFE, and you can try Blue Chew 1 month free. No spending half your day going to the doctor's office, no waiting in line at the pharmacy, no awkward conversations, done online. You talk with a U.S. licensed-based provider, and within a few days, it arrives discreetly at your door. Go to BlueChew.com or just click the link in the episode notes below, and don't forget to use code HOUSEWIFE when you check out to try 1 month free. Just pay $5 shipping. I'm excited for this first question, as they wrote in before, and they're essentially saying like, hey, I did what you said, or I don't know if you did what I said, but they're like, nothing's changed. So I'm excited because let's look at it from a different angle. Sometimes you can hear someone give you advice, but you know, it's really interesting. My therapist one time was like, if you can tell that you're talking to your partner and like you're like no, like we're not connecting. Like I feel like it's like this, like we're floating past each other. We're missing. We're not landing on the same page. We're speaking two different languages. We're on two different pages. We're not in sync here. Try asking your spouse, what did you just hear me say? Like, how did you just interpret that? Because literally, I've said that before to Derek. I've been like, you're not listening. He's like, I heard you. I'm this. And I'm like, see, that's how he interpreted it. And then that can be extremely telling of like, oh, this is triggering this in them. And usually that has nothing to do with you. That's their wound. And so I'm leaving you with that, and you will understand why my answer is going to be more about you. Okay, here we go. Hey Jordan, long-time listener, and thanks for taking my question. I have previously written in concerning lack of foreplay, initiation, and willingness to try new things in my marriage. My marriage is still good, yet nothing has changed on this front since you addressed my previous question. I feel like I try. I don't know what else to do. I just feel like my wife is uninterested in these things for no known reason. I want to be pursued, flirted with, try new things, have some reciprocation in our intimate life. And let me tell you, there's this. I'm so glad that you're here because this interview is going to be good for you. And a lot of people feel like you. Anyone that would consider themselves high drive in the relationship, like or higher than their spouse, which that's usually the case in every single relationship. There are very few, it's a low percentage, the minority of people who feel like their sex drives they're pretty much on the same page, equal. Maybe the first year they're together, maybe the first 5 years they're together, but that doesn't last. Life. There's small percentage, okay? And it's usually the ones that don't have kids, that like it's just a different life, okay? Let's talk about us, the real world, the not that they're real people, but like don't you dare compare your sex life to that and quit assuming, okay? Yeah, I feel like I'm the only one that wants this. We still have sex 1 to 2 times a week, which is great. Yeah, it is great. And but it just goes to show that the amount of sex you're having, which the interview with Jordanne, we talk about that. We talk about sex frequency, how it's irrelevant, which we've discussed on this show before, and how the person with the lower drive essentially holds the key, has all the power. So you have sex 1 times a week, but I feel like it's duty sex in a box that gets to get checked. As a husband, I want to experience giving and receiving oral with my wife. I want to finger her and try new toys. Then do it. I ask on occasion and get that, is that all you think about? Or that is dirty, or maybe one day. If you're having sex 1 to 2 times a week and y'all are clearly doing it like robots, I'm going to need you to take some more initiative. I'm going to need you to work on getting her aroused and using your fingers by doing so. So what am I missing there? Like, how does the sex happen? How? Your dick gets hard and then she just opens her, like, I think you have more power than you realize. Maybe it's not going to start with her getting on her knees and sucking your dick, but I think that fingering her, I feel like you could get there without having to ask. And if anyone gasps, like, without ask, I'm talking to a married couple. Okay, and is that going to ruffle feathers too? I would hope that you would know and understand your wife enough. If she's like closing her legs as you go to finger her, that doesn't mean force them open. That's not her giving an like indicator of be rougher. So gauge, ask questions, don't be a dumbass, but also don't be so timid. I don't feel like I'm asking for anything crazy here. I pretty much always initiate what we do, when we do it, and how we do it is almost always dictated by her. Is there any advice, or do I just put my pride in my pocket and be happy with what I have? Tricky. I try and talk about it with my wife, but she doesn't like talking about sex and wonders why I am just not happy with what I have. Interesting. It seems like that. It's like a shame cycle of she feels maybe some shame. You might feel some shame. She thinks you're being insatiable. You think she's not being open-minded. The opportunity to give her pleasure would hopefully be as fun for her as it would be for me. I just feel like many women that listen to you love oral, fingers, foreplay. You don't know that. Mine does not seem to care about that at all, and it means a lot to me. Thanks, as always, for your time. Okay. Don't assume, we just don't know. There's so many people in like shitty sexual situations, and that's why they listen to the podcast and write in, or don't. There's people that have listened for years that are like, I've listened for years as a silent follower. All the podcasts I listen to, I don't engage with, really. I leave a 5-star review always and a comment because I'm a supportive listener, but I'm not writing in, buying the merch. I'm not, you should buy my merch when I have merch. Anyways, don't assume was the point there. So maybe you don't want this answer, but if I was like, ideally, if you were both right in front of me and I was like, here's what you're going to do. Y'all are both going to go to therapy individually, and you're going to vet your therapist first. You're going to do your research and find a therapist, not from your provider. Sorry. If you have to, I understand. That's where you want to start. But I would just look for a therapist that falls under the umbrella of the categories you're wanting to tackle. Because if we just pick a random therapist and we go in and talking about sex, what if they're a 63-year-old who hasn't fucked their significant other in 3? You know what I mean? Like, let's find a couples counselor that maybe specializes in sex. Find one that, if you're conservative, go to a conservative therapist. If you're liberal, go to a liberal therapist. Maybe that sounds crazy. Oh my gosh, that shouldn't even be. We're not talking politics in there. Yeah, God, I hope not. But the approach to things, people that are religious usually value going to a therapist that is faith-based, okay? It just makes sense because you're going to value the advice they're giving more because it's going to be in alignment with your core values. So there's that. Because I think there's a deeper reason. Maybe today's guest is your girl. But if you don't live in Florida or New York, you're fucked. But get a referral, like something. Check it out. Just check it out. I'm getting ahead of myself. There's something there for her as to why she doesn't want to talk about sex. It could be because the way the conversation goes, it's so predictable, it's frustrating, nothing changes, she doesn't want to have it anymore. It could be all of these things I'm saying combined. It could be that she feels uncomfortable, she feels shame, she doesn't know how to change it. She's got this narrative in her head, and it's not uncommon. It's very common that she could have a lot of friends with similar situations where their men want it all the time, and they're just like, you'll get it when you get it, So we ladies, we don't want to be in that mold. We don't want to weaponize intimacy. That's a mediocre marriage. Don't do it. Don't do it. I know it can sound exhausting. I know there's life's factors, there's seasons, there's winters, there's summers, there's ebbs, and there's flows. I'm not saying you need to be on all the time by any means. That's so fucking not reality. Sometimes there's maintenance sex seasons. The passion is not always there. The lust is not always there. Our hormones, our bodies, our stress, our jobs, our kids. And the most important thing while life is lifing is to be intentional about your time. If you can become, Jesus, she's knocking the microphone everywhere, to manage your time efficiently. This is my listener questions. It's great because a lot of you are like, you're so long-winded during them. If you fucking listen, I promise you, even though I'm hitting a lot of points, and for the ADHD people we're in, there is a lot of good points, okay? You're going to walk away with something, whether it applies to the question or not. So yeah, manage your time. The type A is perfect. If one of y'all is type A, whether it's fucking an hour, 20 minutes, some way we can leave the kids in and walk the dog a lap, something to connect in some way. It doesn't have to be P&V, okay? Just connect in some way. Kiss her, kiss the girl. So she would benefit from benefit. Don't you dare go, you need to go to therapy because this, and this. If I were you, I'd lead by example. I would start, if I were you, I would literally be like, you know what I'm going to do right now? I'm seeing these things that I feel like, you're like, shut the fuck up, bitch. This is not what I asked for. This is a sex problem. I promise you, you're going to thank me. If you did what I said, you would look back in 2 years and go, that was one of the best decisions I ever made. I would bet anything. Every dollar in my bank, you're like, I was divorced. Hey, I don't know. Finding yourself and you're like, I'm not lost. Maybe gaining more tools and understanding from someone who like that is their jam and they work with couples and individuals and whichever mommy or daddy issue. Do you have the daddy issue or the mommy issue? And if you say you have 0, then you really need to go to therapy because you could have like the most awesome parents in the world. But the chances of there wasn't some dynamic that could have led to being maybe avoidant or anxious or people pleasing is slim, but it exists. So I'm just wildly jealous. Figuring out like what's your style in relationships. And maybe you are securely attached, but maybe she's not. You know what I mean? Maybe she's avoidant. Maybe I feel like she doesn't sound anxious, but I don't know her. I know such a limited from that question. But if you went to someone else that you were paying to help you and talked about this, they might be able to see you, because I'm not here in front of you, able to really get a good all-encompassing feel for your personality, your delivery, what's going on, your style, how did you grow up? Like, I'd want the whole picture because there's a reason that there is this communication issue, which in today's interview, she was like, usually, like every couple comes in and they're like, we're having communication issues because you're having one, right? Like y'all aren't able to talk about the sex. Like it's not going well. Shit. You feel like you can't finger her. I'm confused by that because I'm wondering, shit, if you're the one initiating the sex, like I encourage you, I want you, get inspired to initiate in a different, softer, more tender, slow, intentional way. Wine, dine, and 69. I have a hunch that she may feel like it's just a hole for you. You want to get off. It's sex. And she's not feeling that intimacy. You're saying, and men do this, I'm a present husband. What did you say? You said that you feel like your marriage is good and that you're a good husband. And I'm not saying you're a bad husband, but I would be interested in hearing what she said. Does she feel like you're present? Does she feel seen? Because you can have someone who is physically there, and feel alone. You can have a fabulous teammate, a wonderful dad, a wonderful provider, and feel not turned on because you don't feel connected in that way. And so she's physically, mentally not in the space. She doesn't have the desire to initiate. And it could even be to the point where she's not enjoying what she's receiving. Is she getting off every time? And I think that you could ask her, why is talking about sex why do you not want to talk about it? I want to know how I'm going about this wrong. And you may think, and it doesn't mean you're wrong, but I could see how you would view it as like me just being this horny guy who just wants to fuck, and how that can be an eye roll for you. And, I feel like a stereotyped man. But really, I actually bog myself down, this is what you should say, with, is she not into me in this way? Why can't I have these experiences with her? I love her. This is the woman I love. And as a man, those things sound extremely appealing to me and something that I desire, and it comes from a primal place in me. And I understand that I may be going about this in the wrong way. And I can see for you, if you write this down and say this, I just can't imagine nothing coming out of her mouth. And if she cannot partake in this conversation, then for the love of God, can y'all please go to fucking therapy? It's not a communication issue. It's you don't have the tools and the knowledge. You're lacking capacity. Go to therapy. But if you say what I was saying, and I interrupted myself, I understand how you could see that I'm going about this wrong maybe, and maybe I'm not being considerate of your feelings and your experience. And I don't know if it's hard for you to share, if it's uncomfortable for you to share, if you're angry at me, if you're resentful at me, if I know you've mentioned, why can't I just be happy with it? I think I'm left with so much curiosity as to the lack of any sort of knowing. And if it really is just so simple and you like the sex and you're getting off and it's just, that's it. But I can't help but feel like I could be going about this better and really bringing my wife true pleasure and connecting inside and outside of the bedroom. Because every woman wants to connect inside and outside of the bedroom. And every woman wants intimacy that isn't always in the form of intercourse. People care about things that matter to them. And when something isn't rewarding, doesn't feel good, doesn't provide them a sense of safety, connection, pleasure, you're not as willing. You don't really desire that. So I think there's some block, there's a wall, there's some closed off some things. So you need to find the root of this, because it's something bigger. There's something more at play. And that's why I think bringing a third party in would be a good idea. So best of luck. That was long-winded, but I hope that there were tidbits that everyone could benefit from. Okay, next I wanted to, before the next question, read a little follow-up from something about the man-child episode. On your man-child question this week, not defending the guy, but you mentioned when he tried to stimulate his wife, he was too hard and rough. After hearing you and others talk about learning about sex from porn, I think that there's a lot to do with that. For me, it certainly was. I had no idea what a clit was until a girl 4 or 5 years older than me talked me through how to get her off. And in hindsight, I was pretty rough. I'm older, and I've just been in the last 5 or 6 years, I've learned to make love to a pussy. And then Beducated took me to a whole new level. This is not a Beducated ad, but this is awesome. It's wonderful, and my wife seems to really enjoy. Might be a topic to address. So I'm not going to go on. I just wanted to read that and say, hey, truly porn can be mostly is a teacher. So asking questions, gauging, and then just one of the many responses, feedback in regards to Beducated about what a freaking game changer. But no more free plugs, no free plugs, no free plugs. Mommy needs to make money. I'm trying to go on a really nice spring break, okay? So if you can not fast forward through the ads, all I need is your ears. Just let them play through. Think about something. Have a little snack. Take a water break, okay? Okay, last but not least, we have the interview to get into. So We're running out of time. You've mentioned golfing in your last few episodes. You're a golfy girly, and I loves it. As a female, I can't relate, at least yet. But damn, the outfits are sexy. I would like to know your thoughts on the men leaving every Saturday or Sunday to golf 8 hours. Did your husband do that, and then you decide to learn, or ... Okay. Yes, you can look like a chic, sexy baddie on the golf course. You know, every golf course has their rule of thumb. You have to wear a collared shirt, but the ones like, I like to go to the driving range a lot. So that's when I'll wear like a cuter fit because I know that I can. I'm allowed. I love it. And I didn't know I'd love it. I actually started because I signed up to do a charity golf event for my son's school. And I was like, I'm not going to look like an idiot out there. I need to like go to the driving range. I need to go like play a game so I can like know the etiquette and blah. Okay. And I was like so nervous, like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Luckily, I knew I would be in a group of 4 with my other family members. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to make a fool of myself. And I still, when I go golfing, if it's just me and Derek and we get paired with someone, I'm like, go ahead of us because I just want to be myself. I'm like, we're trying to have a date here. You're cock blocking it. I don't want you to watch me swing. Don't, because they like get up there and they watch you and they're like, and just to let you know, if you ever try golfing, go to the driving range. Everyone's going to hit shitty fucking shots. Shitty, biffing it, slicing it. I was saying splicing it every time. And my husband's like, it's slicing. I'm like, I've been saying splicing to people. Okay. So, you know, you can be horrible and then like do good and then be horrible and then like do great. And it's the only game that no matter how much you suck or do good at, you want to go back and play again. It's really weird. Some people don't feel that way. I'm a 9 holes girly because 18 is just like so long. So no, the answer is no. My husband is, I'm not trying to diss any men that ditch their wives every weekend, but I am. That's lame as hell. That's selfish as fuck. And I don't know if your wife works or not, but it's like almost like bad either way. And if you're like, well, I work all week and she stays at home, I don't give a fuck. It's lonely. We want like, just because maybe, oh, well, the kid's at school, she can like have all this free time and me time. And I understand that you deserve me time too. And you deserve, like, totally. But every weekend, like once a month, like every weekend, no. If it's all day, maybe twice a month. But it's like, you know what? I dated, my first love became a golf pro. I just hate using that word. I think he failed the test like 3 times and then made it. I feel bad for his wife. I think he married that girl and cheats on that girl. Allegedly. He would golf like 36 holes. He would like play 2 games in a row, but he would be gone until 8:00 at night. The guy would golf like forever. And it made me believe, and so many women think that golf is like 8 or 9 hours. It's not. I've played 18. It's like 5 or 6. So if it's taking 8 or 9, he's doing other things. They are, even really taking your time, maybe like 7 hours. I know it can be crowded. I guess there's circumstances men are like, shut up. But 8 or 9 hours is insane. But yeah, let them be. It just feels a little unfair because I don't know of any girl hobby that takes that long. No, I did not learn how to do it so that I could join my husband. I did. Of course I did. I knew that he loved to play golf, and now I knew I'd be able to play with him. But if I didn't like it, I wouldn't do it. I don't like fishing. I don't like motocross. He likes to go to those motocross things. I'm like, bye. See ya. And he has to go, to Seattle and stay overnight. I'm not going. I don't want to go because it's boring as fuck to me. this is just something I happen to enjoy. And so because of that, now he's like, hell yeah, let's get out there more. We live in Washington, so we're not going to do it in the rain. We're not those people. But it's been something that I've loved to have a hobby that we both enjoy. I feel like that's added something sexy, like date nights, doing 9 holes and then grabbing some food. So much fun. But to your question, no, that wasn't like the reason. He wasn't doing that to me. And if he was doing that to me, I wouldn't just learn how to play golf to go join him. I would be like, why the fuck are you leaving every single weekend, leaving me to hang by my fucking self with our kids and while you go drink and play a game all weekend? Why are you doing that? And we didn't have to have that conversation because he's more thoughtful than that. So, not trying to start fights for anybody. But any husbands that are leaving their wives every single weekend all day, I don't think that's the sweetest thing in the world. I don't. I'm sorry. You can hate me. You can, like, 1-star review, bitch. Okay. Want to get into our interview? You're like, yeah, we do. Okay, let's do it. It's not Jordan, it's Jordanne. Welcome to the Horny Housewife podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Totally. Every time I have a guest, I always let the guest introduce themselves and then also give a little backstory to however long or short you want to of how you got to where you are today in the profession you are in.
Oh, I love that. So I am a relationship therapist, a licensed therapist and relationship expert. I'm based in Miami. I just moved here from New York this summer. So brand new. But I do run a group practice with a team of amazing therapists in New York City. I work with both individuals and couples, and my focus is really on helping people build healthier, more authentic relationships. Not just with their partners, but also with themselves being the most important relationship, of course. My approach is a little bit different. I'm a very warm therapist, but I'm very direct. So I call myself a bit of a tough therapist. I will always create a safe space for you, but I'm also going to ask the really tough questions to help you and your partners actually create that change, spark that change that you're looking for. Because if we can't look ourselves in the mirror, then what are we really doing in therapy? And the truth is that so much of what happens or doesn't happen in the bedroom is tied to the emotional life of the couple. So if both partners are doing their self-work and are building self-awareness, intimacy flows a lot more naturally. And on a personal note, I'm married. I have a 19-month-old son, and I'm very much in the thick of this stage of life myself. So I can fully relate to what a lot of your listeners are navigating right now. So
totally. On a side note, maybe we'll keep it in, maybe we won't.
Yeah.
But do you ever get imposter syndrome? Like, so I talk about relationships all the time, and people, when you get good feedback, it's really meaningful and thoughtful, and you're like, oh, I'm glad that that impacted your relationship in a positive way. And then when you're like in the thick of it yourself, you're like, I can give such wonderful advice, but why can't I practice my own advice sometimes?
All the time, right? It's exactly what I'm talking about. Like looking in the mirror yourself and really thinking about, what am I doing? How am I acting? It's so much harder than pointing fingers at the people around you, which is what we so naturally do in our own lives, right? So I would say all the time, I'm constantly talking to couples and individuals, and I can feel so invested in their relationships. And then when it comes to my own life, you really need to take that pause and be like, wait a second, what's going on here? How can I really look at myself?
The pause is very important. And I feel like through self-work, like therapy, I'm like a therapy lover girl. I feel like my mom put me in pretty young, which was like, I'm like, oh, what was she scared about? But I started really young. But I feel like growing up in a home that we talked about things was super beneficial because now I see how important that is versus my husband who grew up LDS. It was not a talk about it thing. It was put your best face on and go forward. And I know that's not everyone's experience. I'm not trying to like shit on them, but for a lot of people who grow up in religious homes, it can feel like that.
And I'm
So,
sure that creates a very interesting dynamic between the two of you, right? That
oh
you've
yeah.
needed to work through. And that dynamic is actually super, super common with couples, right? The one person that wants to come towards and the other person that kind of moves away from those tough conversations.
Yes, yes, that would be a beautiful transition into attachment styles. I tell us more so people can. I've talked about it before, so it shouldn't be totally foreign if you listen to this podcast. But what is it? Like you would know all of them. Anxious, avoidant. Is that the only two? They're secure. What
Secure,
else?
anxious, and avoidant. And
Okay.
what's so interesting about attachment styles is, of course, we gain our attachment style from childhood, right? A lot has to do with the way we were parented, how we felt about connecting with our parents, with the people in our family. A lot of people think that you can't ever change your attachment style. Like once you are defined in your detachment style, like that's it. But it's actually so not true. In therapy, there is something called attachment revisited, which is something I love this concept because it really gives people the opportunity to, in their new relationship, in their maybe more healthy relationship, heal from old attachment patterns and create a new attachment pattern that could maybe be more secure for somebody who's more avoidant, more anxious.
Have you seen people like through trauma change attachment styles?
Totally, right? I mean, things can also happen the opposite way, right? Somebody who was
Yeah.
once really secure, something really awful might happen, or a traumatic event might happen where their attachment style might change a little bit as well, right? They might become more anxious or more avoidant. But really creating awareness around what's happening with these changes is
Mhm.
where you have the power again to have that revisited experience and you can really look at what's going on and create those shifts for yourself moving forward.
If you have anxious and avoidant, which we commonly hear, right? Like on when you see like social media
Mhm.
clips about you see that commonly. What obviously if what you would tell the anxious person to do would be different, and correct me if I'm wrong, what you would tell the avoidant person to do, would it? Because as an anxious, right, for me, I want it to be better right now.
Mhm.
I want to talk it to death. I want to beat it blue. I want us to figure out why. I want you to come closer. I want you to tell me everything's going to be okay. And if and I've done a lot of work on this so I can recognize like, oh, this is triggering like this wound of abandonment that I have. But for an avoidant person, it feels natural to step away,
Mhm.
to like, let's talk about this later. And then later never happens
Yes.
sometimes.
Yeah, and
So,
that makes
what's your advice?
that makes that moving away, right? And that makes the anxious person feel even more anxious, right? Because then they feel
Yeah.
abandoned in that moment. And often this is
Yep.
actually something I talk about with couples called the vulnerability cycle, where you almost like attack each other's vulnerabilities in those moments, usually not on purpose, but somebody who's anxious, right, needs. I want to talk this through. I want to talk this through. And that makes the avoidant person feel really, really scared. They might really want to back off. That's their vulnerability. So then they move away. Then what happens is the anxious person feels really abandoned. That's their vulnerability. So they need more, 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 more. And that continues on and on.
How do you break this loop? And is that individual work?
I think it's both. I really, really think it's both. But when you're working with a couple and you can see this dynamic and you point it out, that's power, right? Because when we know why this dynamic is happening and the pattern that we get stuck in, we have the power, sorry, to do what we were talking about earlier, which is take that pause.
Mhm.
That pause is so meaningful. Stopping in
Mhm.
our tracks, doing something that's almost, a CBT technique, thought stopping, but doing it together in this way where we can stop the pattern, notice what's happening, try to understand each other in that moment. And there we have that little shift that can create these different attachment styles moving forward, or at least build the foundation for those attachment
Mhm.
styles to
Mhm.
transition
Mhm.
moving forward.
For a long time, I felt like it was so hard to find that pause because I would feel so flustered,
Mm,
so angry, so overwhelmed. Like the trigger set, like my amygdala was flipped, like
mhm.
my lid was
Yeah,
flipped,
there's almost
and
no
so yeah.
seeing, right? You just see that red. You just see you can't have
Yes.
that moment to understand, right? But again, there is a really great opportunity when you understand that you can't even see in that moment to learn how to
Hmm.
take that pause.
So in your practice, when you meet with couples, what would you say is the most common? I know that's a really hard question because it's like there's so many factors and like so many situations, but is it communication issues? Is that the core of it?
I would say, well, I think this kind of speaks to, we can kind of go into a whole other conversation here, but couples often come to therapy saying, we have communication issues. It is the number one thing people think they're coming to therapy
Okay.
for. And 9 times out of 10, the real problem isn't communication at all, which I'm sure you're not surprised to hear. It's actually boundaries. And healthy boundaries mean knowing where you end and your partner begins. So it's kind of
Mm.
something I call, known in the therapy world, called differentiation, really being able to stand on your own 2 feet with your partner while the other one feels what they're feeling without taking it on. So it's being able to say to your partner, I need rest tonight without guilt, or I can't take on this extra responsibility right now without it spiraling into a fight, right? Me not being able to take on that extra responsibility has nothing to do with you, right? It's being able to see that.
Right.
And parenthood, especially, I think, makes old dynamics resurface. So,
Oh, oh,
who's carrying the mental load, right? Who's allowed
mhm.
to tap out? Who always has to say yes? And that's where these boundaries can get really, really messy. But when couples are able to reset those boundaries, the communication piece often takes care of itself because they're no longer negotiating from a place of resentment.
Mhm.
Boundaries aren't really about walls. I want to make that clear, but they're about creating
Right.
clarity. And I would say clarity is sexy in a relationship.
Right, I was like, because there's a difference of, like, checking out
No, that's
and
totally
being
different.
like,
Yeah.
like Stonewall, like, no longer absorbing more, shutting down emotionally and
Mhm.
physically, then but what I struggle with the boundaries as a recovering
Not
codependent
in him.
slowly, I struggle with, like, okay, I know the right thing to do, I know what to ask for, I know how to ask for it, but the actual feeling, like, of the not taking it on
Mhm.
or drowning myself with guilt or the I'm turning this into my therapy session. I'm sorry. I shouldn't do
That's okay.
that. But like what about people who struggle with like they may verbalize the boundary, maybe they don't know how, but that it doesn't feel real in the inside. Does that make
Mm. Well,
sense?
and let me know if this is not what you're speaking to, but I think this really is someone talking about not feeling like they're deserving of asking for what they
This is
need.
self-worth.
I think it
Yeah.
is a lot of self-worth stuff, right? I mean, saying I need this, it sounds so simple, right? But think about how much anxiety we're even kind of like preemptively talking about thinking about saying that. Right? Why is that
Yeah.
so
Wow.
hard? Why don't you deserve that? That's where guilt kind of comes in as you were talking about. But again, I think this is something that's so common. We need to really tap into in therapy. Well, why don't you
Mhm.
deserve that? Can you understand
And
where
that
that
would stem from
feeling?
childhood, I'm assuming, like those limiting beliefs created of like, I'm not worthy of that, or I don't deserve that, or that's not what I'm supposed to have, or
Yes, I will often do worldview work with clients around this idea, right? Where did you get this lens that you see through where you believe X, Y, and Z about yourself so internally, right? It's so, so, so connected
Mhm.
and deep to who you are that you don't even think
Oh,
you deserve to ask for or,
right.
get what you need.
And then and then parenting, like now segueing into
Mm.
it, it's like then I have my stepson's 15 and our son is 8 years old. So, and I remember thinking like the baby was like, I'm like, oh, because your life changes. Like they're like, what's the biggest transition? One, two, 2 to 3 to, I think it's none to one is
Um,
the biggest transition because your life completely will never, I mean, yes, it will. I mean, but no, it won't.
you're right.
We'll
You're a
never
different person. You are a different person.
100 quadrillion million%.
Mhm.
And you have this other, this soul, this person that you created that you feel this giant obligation to make sure that they feel seen, safe, loved, validated. But then you also have to discipline and guide and like all these things. Why? And teach them coping skills while you're making sure like your coping
Yeah.
skills are on check because my nervous system gets to,
Mhm.
unregulated, what is the word?
Dysregulated.
Dysregulated
Yeah.
often, so
And that,
it's a mind fuck.
yeah, and I
Mhm.
think as much as there is that, right, dysregulation that comes with being a first-time parent, there's also so much healing that can happen
Yeah.
during this time. So, I think it's this like, oh, we're constantly in that back and forth, especially in the
Mhm.
early postpartum days, right, where we're so split between this new identity that we're coming into and thinking about the person that we used to be, that grief, right, that
Mhm.
comes with who that person
Mhm.
was. And so much of postpartum work that I often do is about integrating those two selves. Who do we want to
Hmm.
become? Who do we feel we are becoming? And that can be extremely powerful individually. And then again, looking at, okay, how do I bring this person into my relationship, into my marriage?
Yeah, what about couples that, uh, I read the note and baby proofing your
Yeah.
marriage. What's your advice to couples on how to maintain intimacy? I get listener questions often of like, I understand. God, that's a whole giant
Yeah.
topic of like a woman not being in the mood. Sorry, keep going.
Yes, no. So
No.
so baby proofing your marriage is something, again, I
Mhm.
often talk about, but it's so full spectrum, right? We can talk about sex, we can talk about communication, we can talk about
Yeah.
individual, like there's so much here. But in terms of, you said something about like losing desire,
Mhm.
after having a baby, I think there's this myth that like desire just disappears, right? Especially for women after
Mhm.
having a baby. Like one
Not
day
true.
you're a new mom and suddenly you don't want sex anymore. And that's not really what's happening. And I think it's important people really are aware of that. The desire doesn't vanish, it shifts, and it shifts with this new identity that we're
Mhm.
talking about. What actually changes is, okay, now I have this different mental load, right? I might have resentment that builds when one partner, I'm doing more than my husband is doing right after having the baby,
Mhm.
and which is extremely, extremely common. Or again, that loss of identity, the grief. And that all changes with becoming a new parent. And those are the real desire killers, right? It's not really about the lack of sexual desires. So I work with couples to name those dynamics, because once you say that this isn't really about sex, this is about I'm feeling invisible to you today, right? Or I'm just like exhausted, then you can start to
Mhm.
rebuild intimacy in a way that works for your new reality together. And together is like the main exclamation point word here, because then
Mhm.
you have this new opportunity. What do we want our sex life, our whole life to look like in this new
To look
identity
like.
together? So even if you're both running on fumes, there are small intentional ways. And this is something I talk about all the time with couples to reconnect. And it could be something as simple as getting up to greet your partner when they walk through the door, like instead of I'm tired, I'm going to sit on the couch. Or,
Mhm.
when they're cooking dinner, kind of grazing behind them, giving them a little kiss on the cheek. Just ways of these like touch in between busy moments that can keep couples close through these really, really difficult years.
Mhm. 'Cause it feels like you're It's the atmosphere almost, like, that's not sexy, and, like, you're parenting and it's just not the same atmosphere
No.
when they used to come home from work and it was just you 2 and you can sit
Mhm.
at your counter and have a drink. It's different, and so those little touches, those little things are really can add a different energy to what's going on around so that you're more receptive or open to when the child goes to bed
Mhm.
or even if it's not
It
sex,
could be
even if it's not penetration,
it's just
just some
connection.
form of
Mhm.
connection. Totally.
And it's like
I
a tiny intimate moment where you're letting your partner know, which is this is also like a desire killer. But, if you don't have those moments where you're like, I see you, like I literally just see you, like you're here. I love you. I'm glad you're here. That creates this intimate connection too. And you really
mhm.
just need these small moments of it to then get, to that place where there can be more.
Well, like as far as the what is it called? The responsive and spontaneous, are those arousal styles? Is that what that's called?
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, so when you're saying that, I just keep thinking how it seems like, and I'm generalizing, stereotyping, that it seems like that's more impactful for women. Like as women, it's like so like I want to feel seen, and
Mhm.
my husband like just give him some like tickles on his back for a little bit, and he's ready. You know what I
I
mean?
think men and women do think about sex different often. I'm generalizing, I'm totally
Mm,
generalizing, but usually that's
it's
that's
okay.
that's what I,
Yeah.
that's what I see. But women don't just flip a switch and then feel like that spontaneous desire, especially after kids. Like, or as women get older, this is definitely a thing as well. But what they experience is that responsive desire, as you were just talking about. So meaning the turn on happens after connection starts. So that's why like these meaningful connected moments throughout the day are important.
Mhm,
Um, but that it's not doesn't mean you're broken. It's just so normal. But if a
mhm,
partner doesn't understand it, then they can interpret it as full on rejection. And then that will start some sort of negative cycle as well. So, what I encourage couples to do here is to take the pressure off this spark and focus on creating conditions where desire can emerge. So, warmth, laughter, small moments of physical affection, like we were just talking about, without it needing to lead anywhere, is extremely beneficial. So, when intimacy feels safe and pressure free, it naturally can reignite. And it's less about chasing fireworks, and I would say more about learning to tend the fire so it
mhm.
stays lit,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
because it can be a lot of pressure the other way.
totally. And I think this kind of speaks as well to often that question, like, how many times should we be having sex a week? Because that's so much pressure. And I that's
Yeah, don't
probably
do
one of
that.
my
Yeah.
most asked questions as a therapist. And I
There's no answer. It's like
there's
what
no
you're good with.
number, right? I actually don't
Yeah.
think the number is important at all. I think the
Mhm.
meaningful intimacy that sex can bring is what feels way more important, right? Because if you're just having this kind of like, I'm rejecting you, I'm not rejecting you, type of pattern in your sex, if you're having sex 4 times a week and that's happening, what's the point?
There's people having sex like, I was in a relationship one time where it was almost every day, and it was so boring and so routine and so predictable, and it wasn't fulfilling at all. It felt like
There you
the
go.
same approach. He just needs to get off. He just wants to get off, and I'm this available source. There was no connection. So someone else might look at that. Oh, y'all have sex so often. Like that's great. It doesn't really mean anything.
No.
I mean, it may mean some things, but it doesn't mean that it's a fulfilling and lovely connecting sex life. So, yeah.
Totally, totally. And I mean, that just
Mhm.
sounds stale, right?
And I feel like predictability can get boring. And
Mhm.
I know being in a long-term relationship, that I mean, that's kind of what comes with it, and you go through different seasons, but I always encourage people to try to create different atmospheres. I know it's not everybody lives near family or has the ability to like go jet set away and take a vacay. But I mean, I would be the type to even like I'll take a little carpet picnic or something. Just any gesture that shows that you thought about me or give a fuck is really really appreciated.
Mhm.
Have you ever seen men? Is there any men that have responsive desire?
I mean, definitely.
Yeah.
For sure,
Okay.
but it's just I would say it's not quite as common.
That's
Yeah.
common.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Why did you this is a side question.
Mhm.
Why did you move to Miami from New York? I can
I
cut it out. I just
Yeah,
want to
so
know.
it's actually a bit interesting. So my husband and I, we both lived in New York for 10 years. We both grew up in New Jersey. So kind of the obvious next move for us was New Jersey, and we had no interest. And it was
You were like,
really hard decision to make because our families are there. But we wanted to try something new. We wanted some
are you
adventure.
loving the sunshine?
Yeah, honestly, it's nice. It's really
Yeah.
nice. The
Yeah.
sunshine makes us happy. So,
Yeah.
so far we really love it, but of course we miss our family and friends a lot. But if this is the time to do it, if we're not going to try it now, when are we going to try it?
Yeah. Yeah. You're not stuck forever.
Mhm.
You can never. Okay. Let me see. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. What about the relationship toolkit? You think that's what we should talk about next? What do you think we should segue into?
Sure. Let's
What do
let
you, and also another thing I wanted to ask at the end of us talking, what like is there a like what kind of call to action do you want me to give? Do you want me to like is there sometimes people like have a book they want to share that they wrote or like is there something you would like me to segue into you sharing about?
Um, I think really just I'm accepting new clients. My practice is accepting new clients.
Okay.
So you can send everyone to my website, which
We all need
I'm happy to
therapy.
sell as well, or my Instagram. But I'm happy to do that with
Okay.
you.
No, totally, totally, totally. I just want to make sure I
No,
wasn't
this is great.
missing
We can
anything.
talk about, I don't know, overthinking.
Mismatched libido is like mismatched libido is like the number one thing that people complain about. And I
Mhm.
know you were just saying how sex frequency, about there's no magic number, but wouldn't you say most couples, there's one person who wants it more than the other?
All in every
Okay.
couple. And what's so interesting about this dynamic that people, I don't think fully realize is that the person who doesn't want sex has all the power.
I know they hold the key. They hold the freaking
Yep.
key. And
Mm,
that doesn't feel good for the other
No, so
person.
it's high desire, low power, low desire, high power.
And it feels like it makes a crazy cycle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like a feeling and then like a shame. Like the person who holds the key and the power maybe feels guilt and shame or something. Do you find that?
Yes, yes, and I also think this speaks to what we were talking about rejection, right? Because
Mm.
then there's this kind of pulling away from your partner feeling that can really, really feel like rejection. And again, this is a really tough one when we're thinking about being differentiated because can I stand on my own 2 feet in this moment? It can feel like a direct attack. They don't want to have sex with me. I
Mhm, mhm,
actually
mhm.
tend to think in a healthy relationship, it actually, again, has nothing to do with the other person. This is
Okay.
about the
Like, I need
person
to
who
hear
doesn't
this.
want sex themselves. This is not about them not wanting sex with you.
And it could be a multitude of
Oh,
factors. And
yeah.
I guess it's the no communicating. Like when you're bound to have better sex if you're talking about the sex.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if you're just left to your own mind, you could spiral. It could because there are women that I've talked to on this podcast that are like, I thought I was asexual, but I really was just hating the sex that I was having and didn't know how to voice it. I always faked it, so I just thought I was the problem. Like it was because no one was talking about
Mm-hmm.
sex.
And, the key here for communicating about sex is really to start small and safe. So you don't need to open with something like, crazy. You know, we need to overhaul our entire sex life and change everything, right? Like that can feel really incriminating and overwhelming. And instead it might sound something like, I really loved when you kissed me like this, or can we try slowing down here? Really framing it as curiosity and desire rather than a complaint has the opportunity to change everything in the way that you're communicating about sex, right? It keeps your partner from getting really defensive and makes it about what we're doing together, and kind of like it's even a way of like coming on to your partner, right? Like, I want this feels good. It's also okay to use humor in talking about sex. Like, laughter disarms shame. So the goal isn't to have like this one perfect conversation about what your sex life looks like or what you want it to be, but it's about making talking about sex really normal and an ongoing part of your relationship.
What about people that have like a kink or something they want to try that, like, I'm thinking of a specific listener question that I got this morning actually, so we're like half-ass answering it. But he said that he liked his wife doing something like prostate massage, like something that would I mean, I guess it's all relative to how
Ooh.
freaky that is to someone, but he's like, my wife partook for a while and I loved that. And now she came to me and she said that she was uncomfortable with it. It doesn't feel natural to her. She doesn't want to do it anymore. And he's like, I've let a couple months go by. I want to bring it up again. And I'm like, and I haven't answered this, but I was thinking in my head, she set a boundary. She
Mm.
shared that she no longer wants to do this. But this is not a new question in terms of people going, oh, I just wish you would try this. Like, where's the line of boundary and then me wanting to share my desire that just consumes me? And I always think like you are like your brain, if you focus on what you want and longing, it's just gonna.
Yeah. And listen, I think I'm so glad to hear that his wife set that boundary and she's like, this isn't working for me anymore. But I also I do think there's room for him to bring it back up. And it's not, I
Oh,
don't think it's, I want you to do this again, right?
do it, yeah.
It's like, I'm thinking about this again. And it really takes the two people in this relationship to want to understand each other in that moment, right? So for her, it's okay, why is this so important to him? Like, what does he like so much about it? Right? Again, there's that curiosity, there's the desire. It can open up a completely different conversation rather than, I'm not doing that again. I told you no, right? Because then what's happening is these two people are trying to wing the conversation
Yeah,
versus going in with this, like,
yeah.
how can we understand what's happening here so we can figure out a solution that's like perfect. Not perfect, actually. Sorry. Not
Right.
perfect,
Yeah, it'll
but
take some
works for both of
navigating.
us.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, do you meet with individuals and couples? Do you do
I
both?
do. I do. So if I'm working with a couple, I actually pretty early on in couple sessions, I will do mandatory individual sessions with the couple. So maybe like 3 sessions in, I will meet with both partners individually. I think it creates like this really, really nice base for the couple's work. And then depending on the treatment plan and how the work is going with the couples, I will often work those individual sessions into, the consistency of the work. So
Like
maybe it's like
embedded.
once a month or once every 2 months, we'll have those individual sessions. But makes a huge difference in couples work. It's really helpful. And then sometimes with couples, I make their individual work mandatory. Like, you both need to be in individual therapy if I'm going to see you as a couple. So it really just depends on what
I
they're
think
coming in for.
it's like it seems like how could that not be beneficial?
Oh, yeah.
I guess some couples it's easy, like you just know. You're like people that have never been to therapy and they're going for the first time. I'm sure some individual work. Do you find that they have a different approach when they're individual together, like they censor themselves more in front of their partner?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
but something I say first session always with couples is I am not a secret keeper. Like, that is not my role. Secrets perpetuate lies and lies perpetuate problems. So if one of
Mm.
them is saying something in individual session that like they're not saying in couples work, I always work with them to bring it to the couple's work. So
Oh, that's amazing.
there's never a time where I'm holding something that one of them, likes.
That's awesome. That gives people peace probably too, because you could be like, what the hell is going on over there? I watched The Perfect Couple and you see like Nicole Kidman telling that they're like, I don't know. What you see in the movies isn't true. That's not how it goes down. Okay. Do you meet with everybody in every
I
state?
don't. So I'm
Okay.
licensed in New York, New Jersey, and Florida.
Okay. And if people want to find you, get more information, tell them where they can find you on social media as well as your website, which I can put all of this information in the episode notes below, but tell
Yes,
us.
so you can find me on Jordanne Sculler, lmhc.com, and we are taking new patients. So if you're interested, find us there. And then you can also find me on Instagram at Jordanne Sculler.
Okay, leave my listeners with if there's anyone listening and they're like straddling the fence on the couples
Me.
therapy, they're like, this is the beginning of the end. Some people believe this. Some people think like, I'm not one of them. I've never looked at it like that, but I've met people that are like, no, 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 like I'm not a therapy person, or I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna jinx it. What do you say to those people who are like, maybe one person's in, maybe one person's out?
Do it. Do it, do it, do it.
Do it,
There's
do it.
there's no bad time to start couples therapy. I think that that's often, people are trying to like gauge how far or deep in you have to be to begin, but actually the earlier, the better. And again, couples therapy is about creating clarity in your relationship. We're not going in with like this goal of should we stay together? Should we break up? It's okay, what's really going on so that we can make important decisions and really understand each other to help these patterns that we're stuck in moving forward.
I love that. I remember when I shared on the podcast that Derek and I go to couples counseling, and some people, I hope y'all are okay. I'm like, you don't go to couples therapy. I mean, some people do, but I always was told the good times and the bad times, exactly what
It's
you
so
said,
healthy.
the clarity.
Yes, it's all
So,
about clarity.
and
It
you
doesn't
can't,
need to be this
yeah.
big dramatic
Oh
event.
my, and you can't fix what you can't see, is what I always thought. Like,
Mm,
if I'm not aware of it, how can it get better?
absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
Well, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Jordan. And I will put all of your Jordan.
Jordan.
Thank you, Jordan. I will put all of your information in the episode notes. Thank you so much for
This
coming on
was
the Horny
amazing.
Housewife.
Thank you so much.